Alright, today we're going to make a case for somebody that has been mentioned in my comments a few times as being in the Mount Rushmore of horror slashers alongside Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, and Jason Voorhees, and that is the very controversial Creeper. So, trying to go on with Creeper, I'm going to do a little forewarning here. I know a lot of things that happened in the backstory of this with the director. This is not anything to do with the director. This is just about an awesome, iconic horror character that kind of doesn't always get his due, but sometimes he should. We've got 4 movies so far with the Creeper, and that's a mixed bag all in itself. Probably 2 are good and 2 are absolutely atrocious and the worst things that I've ever seen when it comes to a horror movie. Not the worst, but still bad. Alright, so kicking things off is the kill count for the Creeper. So, looking it up into the fandom and everything else based on how things went, the Creeper has amassed 554 kills, which is by far one of the highest when it comes to any of these slasher villains. Unfortunately, for those of us who watch the movies, in 4 of them, we've seen a total of 49 kills. So, roughly a little over 500 of them are not ones that we get to see. There is the number of 498 unknown victims of his. And then we also have quite a few that are, in the first movie, is like missing people posters. So we know that's from the Creeper, but we just don't get to see it, so it's kind of a little lackluster in that sense. But still, 554 is one hell of a number for number of kills. Alright, now we're going to get into probably the most fun part about the Creeper, and that is the lore. Yes, this one takes a little bit of a kind of an inspiration from Pennywise because it's an ancient demon and it feeds on human organs to help repair itself whenever it gets injured. And what it does is it feeds for 23 days on every 23rd spring. Then it goes into a hibernation-like mode until it comes out again to feed. It likes to scare the crap out of its victim so it can smell the fear to know who it wants to eat and what it wants to eat from them, whether it's their eyes, their tongue, their heart, pretty much anything that it wants to get. When it smells the fear, it knows what's going to taste the best. Alright, so that's the lore behind the character. To me, what is the best part about the Creeper himself is that if you were going to build yourself a horror slasher villain from the ground up, the Creeper is probably the prototype of everything that you would want it to be. It looks like it's human, but it's not. It feeds on humans to regenerate itself whenever it gets badly hurt, wounded, injured. Something's just starting to go bad. It can just eat whatever it wants, and it regenerates itself very, very quickly. Also, when it gets nice and angry, it has like this clawed hood that comes out from behind his head to intimidate its prey, to instill a little more fear so it knows who and when it wants to feed on them. And then also we have the insane bat wings that pop out of its back, and it can take off in flight whenever it wants. So it's not limited to running and stalking on the ground, but it can go flying through the air and swoop down and pick you up and tear you apart. On top of that, it does have super strength, and he also has incredible speed. So right from the get-go, you have a character who is fairly unstoppable. The only thing is that it only has 23 days to do its killing. Alright. Another fun thing about this character as to why he's such a groundbreaking type character is because he makes his own weapons, and he makes them from his victims' flesh and bones. We see daggers, we see spears, we see throwing stars. He even has like a medieval battle axe that he uses to cut people's heads off with, and he can smash through chain and bone in one swing. So he makes all of his own weapons from his victims with his super strength. These things are almost impossible. And then comes the fact that he has this kind of special power almost about him, where let's say he throws a star and it gets stuck in a tree over there, he can just kind of with his hand a little bit, and he can have it come flying right back to him. And he can do that with the daggers, the spears, the battle axe. All his weapons are almost like magnetically charged to come to him. It's like a weird almost superpower he has. And then not only does he get to have flight and speed and power and all these kick-ass weapons, but then he also has his iconic truck. A truck that has a cow catcher on it so he can smash into other vehicles. Has a supercharged engine so that he can go incredibly fast if he's chasing you down. The body and the tires are both bulletproof. In the rear door, it's booby-trapped with spikes, so if you try to come in, it will kill you. And then the cabin doors are rigged to impale you if you try to leave once he gets you in there. He also has a police scanner in there, so he knows where the police are and where they're going, so he can kind of coordinate what he wants to do. He has his own little homemade harpoon that he can shoot out of the exhaust pipe. He has the ability to deploy rolling mines that actually home in and go to the target. And he also has powers with this vehicle as well, to where he can walk up and the doors will open on their own. And if he has it sitting somewheres, he can have it drive to him. Hands down. He is the prototypical most badass villain that you can have. Literally everything I just mentioned. His speed, his strength. He has wings. He can smell the fear and intimidate you so that you're weaker in the moment for him to feed on you. He eats you, he regenerates. He has all these insane weapons that are super strong, and he makes them himself, so he has these powers to bring them back. And then he has this insane truck that more or less can run you down, catch up to you. If you try to get in, it'll kill you. If you try to get out, it will kill you. You can't shoot it. It can shoot stuff at you. It's almost like he's an unstoppable killing force, and anybody who comes in the path of the creeper really stands about 0% chance of surviving. Alright, so my next thing to kind of throw it up there, even though that kind of probably hits the nail on the head, is we have that opening scene in Jeepers Creepers 1 where they're driving down the road and we see that iconic truck. It's honking at them, it's chasing them down, almost runs into them, scares them off the road, and then the license plate that says "be eating you," so that you know this guy is going to kill you. Just an iconic scene. The fourth movie decided to do like a made-for-TV spin-off reenactment of this scene for the movie. It was just atrocious. Everything I saw, I hated about it. It really, really irked my nerves, so I'm not going to hold that against the original's iconic scene, but boy did it make me upset when I watched it. Alright. And then, obviously, another reason why the Creeper deserves to have his spot in the pantheon of horror slasher legends. He has his own comic book. You probably didn't know that, and if you did, good for you guys. Hopefully you read it. But to be honest, when I was doing research on this, I never knew he had a comic book, and he's got quite a long line of comics that have come out to kind of go through his origins and some other stories that have happened while he's been around on this earth, because there's stories that say that the Creeper dates back to when humans started on Earth, and some of them might even say that he was here before the humans were. So, He's been around for a very long time, and they decided to explore that story. You also get pop culture references. There was references to him in the show Stranger Things. And then on top of that, obviously, people do like to dress up as the Creeper for cosplay. He is one of those characters that as much negativity and stigma has came around the movies that he's in, he still outshines that. And people will talk about him even though people still don't always want to look past kind of the negativity. Alright, so the only thing I would say that kind of would hold the Creeper back is the fact that we've only got 4 movies with him in it. And the first one is hands down probably like a 4.5 out of 5-star movie. And then the second one is still pretty good. I give it about 3.75 to a 4. Some people like it more than the first one, but everybody will agree that the third movie is just boring. Boring. And I fell asleep watching it. It took me 3 tries to get through it for a character that was so iconic, and with 2 movies, he was right up there. And that third movie just kind of let him down. And it was almost like a bridge note to be like a movie between part 1 and part 2. It was just a bad movie. And that one did not get very many good reviews, to the point where they finally took the property out of the hated director's hands for obvious reasons that we're not going into in this video. If you want to know them, you can look them up. I'm not going to go into any of that stuff in any of my videos. And then we got the Jeepers Creepers Reborn movie, where we were all kind of excited because we're getting the Creeper back on screen. It's going to be in somebody else's hands. The budget seemed like it was going to be pretty good. And this was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And that's not even just as a joke or anything else. It had terrible acting, horrible dialogue, and I'm pretty sure 90% of the movie was shot as a green screen behind the people. And those people did the best they could. I mean, sometimes they're tripping over stuff that's probably not even really there. So kudos on that part. But God, they had a cemetery scene and the whole thing was CGI. Like, you really didn't have the budget to go out in a cemetery? Like, I know part of this I think was shot during COVID, where you couldn't be that close to people. But if you can be that close to people on a set with a green screen, why couldn't you be out in an actual cemetery, out in the environment where you could actually get away from each other quite more than inside of a building, to have it look more real? Like, it had to be cheaper than all the money they spent on the CGI for these backgrounds. They were atrocious. And that stupid line at the end about how'd you get those peepers? Oh, woof, woof. Alright, enough ranting on that. That is my only negativity on it. And then, I guess, as a final positive note, if you've liked what I've done so far, don't forget to give it a like. Leave comments about how you feel about them. But my last little token I'm going to say is the song. Jeepers, creepers, where'd you get those peepers? Like, how many people knew that song before this movie? Probably some of you, but not everybody was big into that song. But then when you hear it playing at the end and you watch him walk from behind and he's looking through, what's it, Justin Long's eyes that are kind of all ripped out and there's the circles. It's just, you know, it's what they call kismet. It's a perfect finish to a movie. I loved that the fact that the first movie left with the killer surviving, the killer winning. It was one of those rare occasions where the killer actually wins and doesn't die at the end and has to have some stupid reason to come back. In this one, he just let the killer win. He got what he wanted. He wanted dairy so bad. And he got what he wanted. Those damn peepers. Alright, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Share this with anybody else who might want to watch it. Leave in the comments who's the next person you want me to make a case for. And remember, rest in peace.